And in which war did you serve?
World War II.
What was your branch of service?
Navy.
And your highest rank?
Aviation Ordnance Man, 3rd class.
In what general locations did you serve?
All over the Pacific. We had all the islands over there, every one of them. Pow!
And were you drafted or did you enlist?
I enlisted. Against my parents' wishes.
What made you want to enlist?
I wanted to do my duty as an American citizen.
So why did you choose the Navy?
I love being underwater. I wanted to enlist again, but they wouldn't guarantee me sea duty, so I didn't re-enlist.
And tell me about your first days in the service.
My first days? The first days was in New Haven when enlisted at age 17 in New Haven, Connecticut. And when I first went down to join the Navy, there was about 15, 20 other young men. And we had a strip, and I was embarrassed as hell to be there with no clothes on, 17 years old. But I tell you, you lose that after a while because everything was done to you. But you got over that, and I was fine. They sent me to Newport, Rhode Island for my basic training.
And what was some of the training you did there?
Well, we did a lot of running and pictures where you had to know the names of the planes. They showed the Japanese planes and you had to pick them out. It was all about that. And then we went out on this humongous, we call it a whaleboat, for rowing. That was tough. And another thing that was tough, we went in the gas chamber. Oh my God. You come out of there coughing, eyes are burning. That was something. But most of it was running early in the morning and exercises.
Do you remember your instructors at all?
I do, what the hell was his name? Well, he was a big guy, our instructor. He was very nice. And we had one new sailor. I don't think he was 4 feet tall. And he and the instructor got along real well, you know.
So after boot camp, where did you go?
I went to a building in Boston to await orders. So waiting there, they just said, you report to the Quincy Navy Yard where the ship was being built. So we went to the Quincy Navy Yard. We stood fire watch because they were still building, they're still working on the ship. And when it came time, we sailed from Quincy to Boston where the ship was commissioned. And it was commissioned by Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt. All that is in the book too, when you read it. And Admiral McCain, our senator, was on the ship. I don't know if he stayed on it afterwards, because there was 3,000 people on that ship, and you really did get to know all of them.
How much time was spent on the ship?
Well, from 1943 to 1946.
So could you talk about the living conditions?
The living conditions on the ship was very good. Everybody did their job to keep the ship clean. And when we crossed the equator, when they initiated us, the ship was a mess. Because they did everything to us. They beat us, hell, they dumped us in a tub of water and everything. So we spent the next day cleaning the ship up after initiation. So we sailed out to sea. We never knew where we were going. And at first we had the P-40 planes, which did not compete with the Japanese Zero. It wasn't fast enough. But when we got the Corsair airplane, the Japs had no chance, because that was the fastest fighter plane in the Pacific at that time. And on the ship we had torpedo bombers, and we had dive bombers and fighter planes. And it was something to see them take off and land on that carrier. It was really something. You had to stay down below deck so that you didn't get hit when they came in. So
could you describe a typical day?
A typical day?
While you were in the ship?
Well, a typical day, you get up in the morning, and when they raise the flag up, you stand there at attention and salute the flag. Then you had your duties. You didn't have much to do until we were going into the battle zone. When we were just sailing along, there was catwalks on the side of the ship. I would lay there and go to sleep. And they said, "Weren't you afraid to slide or fall off?" No. They watched the flying fish. It was good until we got into battle. And it was an altogether different story.
So could you describe the combat?
Well, when they sounded general quarters, everybody manned their battle stations. And you could see the Japanese planes coming in at us. And they tried to hit us. They called them the kamikazes. They never did get to hit us. But one plane, their wing did hit the tip of our flight deck. But he didn't live to tell the story. We shot down everything that came at us. The gunners were good.
Were there any casualties in your unit?
Yes. I think it was 100 or 150 killed and about 50 or 100 wounded. We were hit with a 500-pound armor-piercing bomb that blew up on the third deck. That's why we had the casualties. They destroyed our eating space.
Could you describe how you were feeling during that moment? Like the feelings that you were experiencing?
Well, I was on the flight deck manning my station, and I got into this compartment, and in my book there it tells how I was locked in there with two other guys. And the ship was on fire, the hangar deck was on fire, and we were right over the hangar deck. And I got overcome by smoke. And after they come in, the rescue crews come in and got us out. Put us out on the flight deck. I was all black from the smoke. So we went to Pearl Harbor to see if they could fix us. But the damage was too much, so we had to sail to Seattle, Washington to get repaired. And we got a short leave, 20 days, to travel from Seattle, Washington to Connecticut on a train is no fun. With 5 days and 5 nights or something like that, 4 nights to get from Seattle to Hamden, Connecticut on the train. After the leave was over, went back to the ship and waited for the rest of the crew to come back. And we went out on what they call a shakedown cruise to get the kinks out. And from there we sailed out, went through the Panama Canal, out into the Pacific Ocean. And that's the last I saw of the United States. We sailed all the way out the Pacific. We were in a few battles. That's about it.
Do you recall when the first battle was?
Let me see my book. No. I don't know if this is it or not. It might be on my.
It's okay, we'll just go on to the next question. So, were you a prisoner of war?
No.
And were you awarded any medals or citations?
Well, not any personal, but I got these 4 ribbons.
How did you get them?
From the ship, and these stars on there. The silver star is 5 battles. The bronze one's a single. They had 9 battle stars. The only medal I got, and I didn't get it yet, was the Connecticut State Medal.
And could you talk about the battles more?
Well, at one point, when we were heading to Okinawa, we didn't have a real meal for a couple of weeks. We were eating the K rations. Then when we got to Okinawa, is when we got hit with the 500-pound armor-piercing bomb that blew up on the 3rd deck. And after that, it was cleanup time after the ship got hit. And we headed back to Pearl Harbor, but they couldn't fix us there. It was too much damage. So we sailed to Seattle, Washington. And I was on the first leave. Everybody didn't leave at once. 20-day leave from Seattle to Hamden, Connecticut. So I had about 5 days of leave. The rest of it was all travel time. Tried to get an airplane during the war. The travel was impossible. Unless you were going to someplace in the Army or Navy. So we got back to the ship. Everybody was back. We sailed back out to sea. We hit The first island we hit was Saipan. That was the closest one. I think all the ships used Saipan as target practice after it was taken over. And from there we went to all the other islands. Iwo Jima was the big one. That's where the poor Marines had a tough time. Excuse me.
What were your impressions? What were your impressions when you got to these islands?
When we attacked the islands?
No, when you got to Saipan, what was your impression?
Well, we didn't get ashore.
Oh.
We attacked, but we never got ashore. At one point, we did went to an island where we had refreshments. They served watered down beer, but the water there was crystal clear. That's the only time we got ashore. We never got ashore on any of the islands that we hit.
And did you stay in touch with your family?
I wrote letters all the time. As a matter of fact, I think I got one that my mother wrote. I still got it in there somewhere that she sent me.
And what was the food like?
What was the food like? Well, we were fortunate on the big ship that we had decent food. The only bad one was when we were in Boston waiting to be christened. Our first meal on there was on Thanksgiving Day. And the lines were a mile long because you're talking 3,000 men on this ship. It took the whole day to feed us. After that, everything went smooth. I say the cooks on the ship did a good job. I can't complain about the food.
What did you eat on Thanksgiving? What did you eat on Thanksgiving? Like what kind
Turkey.
of foods? Turkey?
Yeah. That's why it took so long.
Was there something special you did for good luck?
For good luck?
And did you have a good luck charm?
Oh, I said the rosary almost every night.
And how did people entertain themselves?
Well, we had, they put a net up. They could play back and forth. But they had this medicine ball that we threw at each other. And they had movies on the ship.
Were there, did you see any USO shows?
Never. Never. You see all these guys like Bob Pope and everything. We never had anybody come and entertain us. We were watching a movie one night when they sounded battle alarm. Dan Jap tried to sneak in. And I was with this friend of mine, Augie Fusco. I never saw him again. He went back to his ship, and I don't know where he is to this day. But I think it was mostly a false alarm. But they spoiled that movie.
What kind of movies did you watch?
That was the only one.
That was just one. And do you recall any pranks that you or the others pulled?
Any what?
Any
Prank?
pranks.
Oh. Well, there were a lot of pranks. If somebody's sleeping, you'd bother them one way or another.
What would you do?
I don't want to tell you. But I didn't have any problem. But my glasses got broke. We were loading bombs and rockets, and I took the glasses off and I put them on the edge of the elevator. And when we finished, I slammed the goddamn door down, smashed my glasses. So I never got any more until I got back to the States again. But got along all right.
Do you recall any humorous or unusual events occurred?
Any unusual events? What? With the guys on the ship?
Yeah.
No, not really.
What do you think of the officers and your fellow servicemen?
Excellent. Excellent.
Did you keep a journal?
I tried. I got just one part there where we sailed for days, saw nothing until we got to Okinawa. As it says, we're headed back to the good old USA. Well, I think you would have to read this.
Okay, and where were you when your service ended? Could you tell me about that day?
We were out at sea, we were bombing Japan. We were bombing them constantly, day and night. And they said the war was over and we were out there in the middle of the ocean. We didn't get a chance to enjoy, we didn't get a chance to enjoy it, to celebrate. What is that? That page out of there?
Could you tell me about being discharged?
Being discharged? Yeah, we were in the Boston shipyard and waiting for discharge. It took longer to get discharged than it did to get out into the Pacific.
And what was your homecoming like?
It was just plain, there was nothing. Celebration was all over, that the war was over. And my mother was very happy that I came home. But that was it. There was one fella on the ship, while we were waiting, he was playing pool. He's a pool shark. Hey, come on, play. I said, I never play pool. I don't want to play pool. Come on, we'll play for $1 a game or something. So we played 2 games. I got beat 2. That's enough. I said, you're a shark. So that was the end of my pool days. I still don't play pool.
What did you do after the Navy?
I went back to my job in the old safety car heating and lighting company. They're on the corner of Putnam Avenue, Dixon. The building is still there, but it's not the factory anymore. But I went back there as a tool and die maker. I became foreman. After foreman, I became the plant superintendent. I had a real good job. I was I was very lucky to come back and go right back into where I was working before. These these guys coming out now, they can't get a job. It's tough. But I went right back in. I was a milling machine, set up and operator, drill press, you name it, I did everything at the shop. That's how I got up in the ranks pretty good.
Okay, and did you make use of the GI Bill?
No, did not. I didn't have to.
Did you make any close friendships during the service?
I got a bunch of names, but I read them and I don't know who the hell they are.
Was there anyone you continued a relationship with to this day?
No.
No. And how would you say your military experience has influenced your thinking about the war or just the military in general?
Well, I think the United States did what they had to do. They didn't want to get into the war, but once they attacked us, that did it. Then the war was declared. Once Japan bombed Hawaii, that got us into the war. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have got in there.
Did you join any veteran organizations?
Just the American Legion.
And are you still active?
No. I'm still a member, but I never go over there. It's hard when I can't walk. I have to take this with me every place I go, because if I try to walk, I'll fall. I got the neuropathy in my feet. Right now they're burning. Put out the fire.
Did you attend reunions? Any reunions?
No, they have them every year, but I never attended one. Now, I should have attended when I was able to walk. But it'd be tough for me now to go to a reunion. I'd have to have somebody go with me or something like that. Matter of fact, there's a reunion coming up now. Well, it's in there already, but they have, I get this here, it's a quarterfinal. You can have that. Get that every 4 months. And they have the reunion thing in there. It's called the Wasp Spirit. You know, the saddest thing that I experienced is when they were burying our buddies at sea after we got hit. I sat there by the deck and you could hear him sliding down into the water. That was the toughest thing I ever faced. To hear them slide into the water. And folks would never see him again, dead or alive. That was tough.
want us to give you a moment? Do you need a moment?
No.
Could you tell me more about your time in Japan on the ship?
In Japan? Well, we didn't go ashore.
Yeah, while you were still on the ship.
Well, I was, like I said, aviation artist, man. I was putting 3-inch rockets on the wings of the fighter planes and hanging the 50-pound bombs on the fighter planes. And that was day in and day out. Like I said, we were bombing the hell out of them when the war ended. We were still bombing them. So I think we had it pretty well hammered. So we come back to the States with no hullabaloo because all the celebrations are over. But I was just glad to get back. I didn't care what I celebrated. My celebration was putting my feet in the good old USA. That was it.
How did the service and experiences affect your life?
It made me grow up.
How so?
I went in when I was 17 years old. Mm-hmm. And you learned to take commands. You answered yes, sir, or no, sir. And no bullshit. You learn to take the orders and do what you're told. That's what made you grow up. You had these young officers that thought they were hot shit right out of college, but you had to take their orders. They were the officers. Yeah. So you zipped it.
So would you say the service gave you discipline?
Oh, absolutely. You were told to do something, you did it.
Did you ever receive any punishment?
Well, it wasn't punishment. I took a turn at working in the mess hall. Oh my God, I couldn't wait to get out of there.
What was that like? Did you talk
more
about that?
You're like you had to set up like the tables and everything had to be set up every day, every meal, and taken down because in case we were under attack or something, they weren't in the way. And the mess duty, cleaning up, taking the trays, cleaning and washing them and everything. It was tough. I just couldn't wait for my turn to end. I almost got in a fight with one guy there. I was carrying a load of trays, and he stepped in front of me and bumped. I was ready to get into a fight, but I don't know what the hell would have happened after that. You get punished then. But that's the closest I ever came to having a fight. I got along with everybody.
Good. So is there anything you would like to add that has not been covered in this interview?
No. I covered it. I'm so glad to see the Corsair plane come on the ship. And I was assigned to 4 Corsairs. I had a crew. I had to do it all by myself. And every time they went up, you get in, clean the machine guns, refill their compartments with the bullets. He was this guy that guided the planes in. He's on the edge of the fight. Tell him to go this way. And then he'd wave him in, or he'd wave him off. He had to jump in the water one day because the plane would have hit him. So they had to put a crew out to pick him up out of the ocean. Oh boy. One young man ran into a prop.
Yeah.
Sounded like somebody took a head of cabbage. It was terrible. That's why when you're on that deck, you've got to stay below when the planes are coming and wait until the props stop. I got stuck on the flight deck one time, and I couldn't get off until all the planes took off. And they had these railings on the deck. I was clinging onto that and a fire extinguisher in the other hand. Until all the planes landed, then I could get up. I wasn't about to get up while they were still there. So. Okay, think of anything else. I was glad I joined.
Wow.
It was an experience.
Good experience.
It's a good experience. It made a man of me. It did.
Would you recommend other people to join?
Absolutely. There's one young fellow just joined the Army. I don't know why the hell he picked the Army, but he did. That's what he wanted. I think he was 21 years old. Well, it won't hurt anybody to join, I'll tell you. But some people get in there, they can't take it, so they discharge them. If you can't take orders, don't go.
Good advice. So that's good advice.
Oh yeah. You get in there and you have to do what you're told. Well, one thing in boot camp, we'll go back to boot camp. We slept in hammocks. I had no problem sleeping in the hammock. But all night long you'd hear bump, bump. The guys falling out of their hammocks.
Did you fall off of yours?
No, never. Never. And you had to shave every day. One day when I don't need to shave. But the goddamn officer saw the stump. So he went before the officer of the deck, dry shave all day. There was nothing there to shave. Oh, you could tell I shaved every morning after that. But while we were at sea, didn't matter. But you had to keep your hat on all the time. And your sleeves rolled down. The sleeves, in case there was a fire, you wouldn't get burned from the heat. But there was a lot of things. Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to thank you for your service and also for taking the time to be interviewed today.
Oh, you're quite welcome.